Good afternoon. This is Tech Focus AI and Automation. My name is Will Strauss. I'm one of the editors here at SVG Europe. Over the next 25 minutes, we are going to look at the potential impact of AI and automation on sports production and provide some real-world examples. I'm going to put my phone down. Don't need that. Joining me to do this are Ian Wray. He's Senior Director of Media Partnerships at Spiideo. Christian Nestande, Team lead for live infrastructure at TV2. Tabea Wagner, Senior Manager for Live Products and Innovation at the DFL. And Tim Achberger, Director of Technology and Product Management at Sportcast. Welcome to you all. Thank you for joining us. Let's start by putting this into some contexts. Ian, I'm going to come to you first, if you don't mind. For the uninitiated, how can AI and automation help with the creation of sports content?
Well, for us at Spiideo, I think AI and automation we see as tools that really help with essentially helping sports organizations that otherwise couldn't afford to create content in the first place to be able to do so. So it's really, obviously, as we know, the lower down you go the sporting pyramid, the less budgets there are to pay for, traditional broadcast production, OB trucks, etc. So, what we're doing is putting in the hands we're basically putting technology in the hands of these sports organizations to create content that otherwise wouldn't exist. And so, for us, it's obviously about reducing costs in terms of, the infrastructure costs, being cloud-based. It's also, especially when you're looking at lower tiers of sport where, there weren't people doing productions in any case. This is about, reducing the amount of people involved. It's not just about skilled people having, a cost associated to them, but finding skilled people in the first place to do these lower tier productions. They're a rare commodity. So, in terms of automation, we see automation really as is basically being driven by available sports data. So if there's data available, then automation is driven by that, and it helps to essentially to drive graphics automatically, to potentially change angles automatically, and equally it's about using automation to maybe set maybe a storyboard or a run sheet so you get the same look and feel, the same consistent storytelling across entire competitions. And so being able to do that in a scalable manner is very important. And then in terms of AI, AI for us, I guess the most well-known aspect of automated video production, AI, is essentially being able to follow the action, to mimic and to follow as best as possible how a manned camera would typically do that. But then it's also about maybe changing angles, recognizing in certain sports when to change angles. And then, it's essentially, bringing together both AI and automation together and, to help essentially to tell the kinds of stories that we're used to seeing in top tier events.
Fantastic. So you mentioned tiers several times. Is this still purely for lower and mid-tier sports, or is this now sneaking into that top tier?
Yeah, I'd say we're inching up the sporting pyramid. I think a few people have mentioned it today in previous panels about, technologies that come from behind and gradually become more and more applicable to higher tiers of sport. And I'd say we're one of those technologies. It's really been based upon having enough capability in the platform to deliver the kind of high production quality levels that fans expect. Graphics, of course, instant replays, multi-angle, commentary, all the things that are taken for granted. And I think we've been able to address a lot of those, and I think we're addressing more and more of the kinds of capabilities that are expected. Essentially, virtualizing an OB truck in the cloud to be able to deliver on the expectations required.
Fantastic. Right, let's take an example, if we may, and we're going to talk about the key factors that make it successful. We're going to play a short clip on the big screen. Before we start the clip, which you're going to talk over, what are we going to see, please, Ian?
We've lined up just a couple of examples here, but it's really just to show. We did some testing with a broadcaster, various broadcasters, but this particular example is from ice hockey. It's basically showing a side-by-side manual camera operator alongside an automated camera operator, essentially from a camera one position. And it's really just to show, especially, ice hockey is a very difficult sport, as you'll see, and we've also got some examples of where it maybe hasn't, the game hasn't been covered as well as it could have been from a manual camera perspective.
Should we see it?
Yeah, let's see it.
Stick the video on and Ian can talk over it. Thank you.
Yeah, so to the left here is the automated camera output, and in comparison, synchronized you have the manual camera operation to the right. And of course, ice hockey is a very difficult sport to cover because the puck is moving fast and it's small. So I don't envy a camera operator who has to try and follow the action. And here, this was a good example of where the action actually took place off camera and actually missed the goal attempt, whereas that same incident, covered from an automated camera perspective, was able to capture the attempt on goal, and equally on top of that, be able to cut to a different angle to help tell the story a little bit better as well. Okay. And then finally, this is an example of how we can do automated cutting between on a sport of baseball, where this is a play-by-play sport, so it's much easier to segment the game itself, but be able to cut from a zoomed-in shot to a wide shot, and then the run on base, and that's all being achieved through AI, through recognizing the gameplay and being able to switch between the available camera angles.
Thank you. I understand that you can now also include manned and PTZ cameras within that workflow. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, that's actually a recent development.
Yeah, we've got some pictures of that we can show as well, please, Rox. Thank you.
So this is an example. Yeah, so this is an example. This is sort of the user interface showing in our cloud software interface how you can switch between camera one, a main camera, and any available external camera ingest feed. Here is a test. This is sort of the automated camera one. Having scored the goal, then of course to maybe then show that goal in better detail, we then on the replay then cut to the camera, the broadcast camera 2 that followed that action in a moment. Yeah.
That's a foul, by the way.
This last case here on college football in the US, this was actually, we're actually seeing here our user interface into our officiating replay tool used by the referees. But this basically is showing the program feed coming in from ESPN. And the interesting use case here was the fact that the ESPN team, at another point in time in this particular game, none of the broadcast cameras captured what happened on the field of play. There was an incident off camera, off action. And basically the production team had to run in to speak to the referee saying what happened, and because the camera on the left here is sort of this panoramic camera, so you can manually pan, tilt, zoom around it and look at the whole field of play. So it was just a really good example of how it works the opposite way around as well.
Thank you, Ian. If you want to know what the crime was that the player committed, ask Ian afterwards. We're going to move on, because those are really good examples, but I want to find out what it's like to do something like that at scale. So we're going to come to Christian from TV2. You, in your previous role, you oversaw the rollout of automatic production for 3,500 matches, I think, annually for TV2. Tell us a bit about what you did and what the challenges were in scaling automation at that level. We can also see a clip while Christian talks.
Yeah, so at TV2 we bought in 2020 several sports rights, and we were going and a lot of the lower tiers as well, and we knew that we couldn't do that with manual production. It's not financially possible for us, especially being in a small market as Norway. So we started looking in how we could do that automated, and AI was quickly obviously something we looked into, and we quickly made that decision to go into that sphere to automate with AI the productions. Yeah.
Thank you. So the big concern, I'm sure, for the majority of people who are interested in this is quality in this. Yeah. It's always a concern. How would you ensure your production standards are met, and what lessons have you learnt during that process?
Well, we haven't really seen much quality issues. We have had some improvements we've looked at. but in terms of color, we've been happy with the shading and the color quality. We're happy with the quality of the resolution, and fairly happy with the graphics as well. There's still more stuff we would like to add, but it covers kind of a minimum viable product type. But what we did in terms of the camera movement, we were not too happy. I think it had when we started using it, a bit more analytical approach to the movements. So we wanted to adapt it a little bit to the TV2 set of producing. That being that we want to film who has the ball, who can take the ball, and who can get the ball. So together with Spiideo, we gave feedback, and the model was improved, and we use that model now today, and we've seen a great improvement in the movement of the camera.
Thank you. So you've liaised with federations, service providers, partners. How do you build trust when doing something like this? Because presumably that's a big piece of this.
Yeah, well, I think since we're a public broadcaster, I think we get some trust from the start, but for us as well, obviously we could film a lot of the matches and broadcast a lot of the matches, which was not possible before, and in a much bigger scale. So I think that was kind of the trigger for the associations to kind of jump on board on this project, and then we had some issues with trust very early on in the project. We had some incidents with privacy because we filmed the wrong arena and put some children on stream, and obviously that's in terms of GDPR and privacy, that's not a good thing, and the tabloids quickly picked that up. I'm glad to say that in the last 2 years we haven't had any issues at all. And our partner MyGame has produced 11,000 matches just in the last year. So it kind of shows that the automation and what we've built into the solution kind of have that privacy built deep into it now, and and that's obviously then gained trust for the associations.
Brilliant, thank you. I'm going to bring in the DFL now, if that's okay, Tabea. I'm going to come to you. In Germany, you've been pioneering some AI-driven editorial tools. Should we see the video first when you talk about it? Can we just see this quick clip, please?
Florian Wirtz! Magical! The German wunderkind fell hard, only to come back even stronger. Xabi Alonso's playmaker is firing Leverkusen to silverware. Here is the story of Florian Wirtz. Florian Wirtz! Magical!
Das deutsche Wunderkind fiel tief, nur um noch stärker zurückzukommen. Xabi Alonsos Spielmacher führt Leverkusen zu Titeln. Hier ist die Geschichte von Florian Wirtz.
Das deutsche Wunderkind fiel tief, nur um noch stärker zurückzukommen. Xabi Alonsos Spielmacher führt Leverkusen zu Titeln. Hier ist die Geschichte von Florian Wirtz.
So what was that?
Yeah. So this is one initiative that we did at DFL. It's called Content OS. But maybe I like to start with the question why we are doing this, because this is the clear starting point for me. And Ian pointed it out and is stating the obvious. AI and media production workflows, it's just a huge potential when it comes to scalability of content and cost efficiency. And with AWS, we have a strong partner, a great platform to explore a lot around AI and automation. And they have so many AI initiatives in the DFL group, and this is one of them. And at DFL, some of you may know, but we have internalized our whole media value chain, so meaning from organizing the competition to producing the base signal via Sportcast, to the match data collection, over to the creation of audiovisual content, to then actually also ultimately selling our media rights. Everything is in-house in collaboration with our subsidiaries, and gives us or puts us in a very good position where we can do a lot around the media product and around AI in our workflows. And for the international production, that means we have our world feed for Bundesliga and Bundesliga 2 matches. And on top to this core element, we have a big global product portfolio that consists out of linear shoulder programming formats, but also digital formats. And the majority of assets is available in English or with the audio track International Sound. And obviously, from market research and from our media partners, we know that the fans tend to or preferably consume the content in the native language. And what happened in the past is when it comes to localization efforts, this workflow had to be done manually, which is costly, time-consuming, and super slow. And this initiative, actually addresses this issue by removing the language barrier and by setting up this localization workflow, AI-based. And we have transcription, translation, and the automated creation of that output file. So really the editors, either our internal editors or the external editors from our media partners, they can trigger a localization request, ask for a localized script, ask for a localized video of the clip with subtitles, or what we've just seen, video clips with localized voiceover. And the third video is actually the last evolution stage, really the synthesized version of the original video source.
Thank you. Within that example or other examples, where's the balance between the AI-generated content with the need for human oversight? How much interaction? I don't trust ChatGPT to write my news articles. You'll be unsurprised to hear. Do you trust this to do everything, or do you still need human beings to make sure it's absolutely correct?
Yeah, not fully yet, I would say. So I think in football, it's all about emotions. So this is why we believe human oversight, human in the loop, is really essential in those pipelines. And especially for this project, we have therefore created an interface where the editor can then check the translation and just do the last refinements. And actually it helps us again, because those corrections help us train the LMMs. So we expect to see improvements and self-learnings in the LMMs over time, which also then helps to reduce this human in the loop part over time.
Fantastic. And can you leverage this for live yet, or is this just post?
Not yet, I would say, but I think we are getting there. So I just outlined the human in the loop part or component, and in a live environment you cannot afford too much latency, but it's just impressive how fast this technology has evolved over the past months, and I think we're not that far away from using it live quite soon.
Brilliant, thank you. Tim, thank you for being patient on the end there. Sportcast, on behalf of the Bundesliga and German Football League, is using AI and automation tools in what ways, please? Because you're using it for Bundesliga too, I believe.
Hello, everyone. Just a short explanation from my side. For us as Sportcast, we are on the one hand the TV host broadcaster of the Bundesliga. We are organizing all the technical stuff for our unilateral partners, so 7 national unilateral partners, and we do in the whole global portfolio technical coordination. So where you see it's quite a complex field where we have to do a lot of parallel activities during our match day, and so we're always looking in which way we can integrate technologies to improve, to optimize, and to really do more in less time with the same staff. So we have one example from our second Bundesliga. If you could please put, here we go. And it's just a short example for you. We're doing a whole production for the Bundesliga, all 306 matches for the international market with commentators, graphic operators and stuff. But we had demand for the second Bundesliga as well. So especially with all these traditional club brands, there was the ask for more content, and we wanted to find a lean solution, and then we decided to do it just in a stream and add all these graphics via an algorithm and with the HTML5 graphics. So there's no operator included anymore in the whole procedure. We got clearly defined time windows where the graphics are going into it. The commentators are integrated over Spork as audio file, and so we can provide a nearly a full product for all international licensees, and the OTT platforms can put this directly onto their portfolio, and it's a really high demand for this. If we can see on the second chart, we saw really during the years the number of bookings really rose constantly, and that's why we decided to do from this season on now all 306 matches for the second Bundesliga as well.
Fantastic. I'm conscious of the time, so I'm going to get to two final questions which I'd like to address to the panel. So thank you for your examples, those are really good. When I tried to do this session, the planning for this session, I asked quite a few companies if they'd take part, and some very big organisations said no. There's some nervousness amongst the industry about talking about this and deploying some of this. Ian, if I could come to you, please. Why is there still such a nervousness about this type of technology?
I'd probably narrow it down to maybe 3 different reasons, in my opinion. So firstly, I think I've been to enough IBCs and SVGs to have been through all the different acronyms of technologies that have come along the way. I think some have succeeded, others have failed. 3D, of course, being one of the best examples. But AI, I think, is fundamentally a very different type of technology. It's not a specification. It's not. It's of course it is changing technology infrastructure, but it's not like the move from SD to HD to 4K. This is more. This is, of course, changing infrastructure, going cloud-based, but it's also changing workflows, fundamentally workflows. And, as I mentioned before about the operational element to it, the skilled staff involvement, I think it's, the uncomfortable truth that this technology brings with it the potential for certain job roles to no longer be relevant in some cases. That's not to say, that's where we've been playing. Of course, we come from the mid-tier where we're actually creating jobs in many respects. But as we're going up the pyramids, then it becomes a more, awkward kind of conversation. So I think that there's those elements to it. And yeah, I think maybe finally, I think it's it's just the complexity of adapting to it, and maybe the ostrich head in the sand, like, it's going to go away. It's going to be, we can keep this nice, comfortable existence going. But I think from what I've been hearing today, AI is a very big topic in all the discussions. So I think the realization is there that, this is going to change things.
Christian, Tabea, Tim, do you have an opinion about why there's a nervousness? Do you understand the nervousness?
I think you're right about that, talking about AI and people thinking about their jobs. It's easy to see when you see the examples here that, like camera 1 position, that's easily automated. What's next? Can you do offside cameras? Of course. What about reverse? There's probably some cameras it's more difficult to do as AI. Like camera 2, obviously you have to pick something that's often outside of the camera lens. But so I think maybe that's like AI is a bit frightening. I think for employers to talk about.
The outside courts at Wimbledon have been automated for a long time, but let's not go into that. So I'm going to finish with this last question to each of our panelists. How do you see the roadmap for AI and automation? Tim, we'll start with you, if that's okay. What's coming next? And I guess will we have the same conversation at IBC next year as we're having now?
I mean, it will change tremendously the whole ecosystem of our daily working, and that's what we see. It's coming so fast, and we have to check every process, and we have to embrace these technologies, and we have to make our people aware that they have to change their mindsets, and that they have to learn how to change their working style, because we don't want to replace the person or our staff. They need to adapt and take this supportive agents or whatever you want to call it, and make our product better. And that's a big change, and so I'm sure we will talk about it every year.
Thank you. Tabea, to your point of view, from your point of view, what's next?
totally agree what Tim said. So I think by next year we will hear about more concrete AI use cases, and the variety of use cases will be much, much bigger. And it's just crazy to see how fast this pace is in that area. So what is new and experimental today is maybe standard practice by tomorrow. So it's probably more about, or the conversation will shift to what we've learned by implementing the AI.
Thank you. Christian?
Yeah, I think we will see more of more AI, obviously, but more cameras, easier to use, instant replay functionality, more graphics in the broadcast.
Thank you very much. Ian, take us home, to paraphrase Alessandro earlier. How do you see the next period of time, and will we have these conversations the same? Will they be the same this time next year?
I don't think. It won't be the same this time next year. This is evolving all the time. But I'd say even in the past year, things have accelerated immensely. We're having conversations now with large production companies and broadcasters that we wouldn't have dreamed to have had conversations with even a year ago. And this is largely because we're now it's, I think, a realization on their part that they need to embrace this technology because of their own commercial pressures, but also because we have the ability to deliver a product that isn't just about cost, it's also about delivering good quality productions with all the bells and whistles that fans expect in that content.
Brilliant, thank you. And on that, we must end as we are over time. Please join me in thanking the panel for their time.